It's official. Many MSPs hate marketing, and they hate marketing agencies even more. But why? Is it because they've had their fingers burned? They've spent a ton of cash on an agency and felt they never got value for money? Or is it because agencies persist in making marketing seem mysterious when it's really not? My special guest today is going to tell you exactly why MSPs hate marketing. And if you're hiring a marketing agency, he's going to tell you the specific questions you should ask to separate the good guys from the bad guys.
Hello, my name is JP De Silva, and I am the founder and owner of Create Want,
a marketing agency. And thank you so much for joining me on this podcast, JP, because we're going to talk today to marketers having a discussion about why people hate marketers, which sounds like a bizarre conversation for us to have, but there is a solid reason for us talking about that, because we believe that actually it unfortunately makes MSPs hold themselves back because of their dislike of marketing and marketers in general. So we're going to explore that today and try and make it more comfortable for you as an MSP. If you're thinking of hiring a marketing agency or bringing a marketing person on board, we want to sort of help you by knowing what are the right questions to ask, what are the things you should consider, and why you shouldn't hate marketing people. That's our goal for this anyway. So tell us a little bit about you. I know those people watching this on YouTube will see that you look like you're about 18, but you're telling me that you've been in marketing for 25 years already. Tell us about your background.
Yeah, I'm past 40. So yeah, I have been in the industry for about 25 years. And it all started when, my dad was a computer programmer before internet was a thing. And I was always with computers and marketing related stuff. And I started helping people trying to get their name out. And I found out that a lot of business owners didn't understand the principles of marketing and how it works and what to expect. And it created a false expectation. So over the years, I started to lean more towards like, how can I get this person to understand how these work so they can make a more responsible decision when it comes to, I'm going to invest money here or I'm going to do this. And it became a very fun thing just because I've heard probably about every question, every complaint people have in the industry, which has helped me to develop things that is going to help them, overcome that.
Yeah, that makes sense. And certainly back in the day, and even today still to a certain extent, people who don't know much about marketing or technology assume that if you can do computer stuff, you're good at marketing. We see this with the MSPs. MSPs are sometimes asked by their clients, can you build us a website? To which, of course, we know that managing someone's technology and building a website are two completely different skills, but the end users, the end business owners don't do that. I remember when was this? Back in 2005. So yeah, 20 years ago, my last proper job before I started my first business, I worked for a newspaper publishing company here in the UK. So, 2005, fairly early days on the internet, but I worked in the internet division. And at one point, just before I left, because things were going stupid, they decided that they should give the responsibility for the internet publishing division to the IT department. And their thinking was, but these are our websites, these are our news websites, so the computer people should run them. And of course, it was just a case of no, they're websites. It's just the conduit to get the news out to people. It's that would be like handing. In fact, I'd made this argument in a meeting. That would be like giving the printing press over to the IT people. They wouldn't know what to do with it, right? And they wouldn't know what to do with the websites.
Right.
So you must have seen then over the years things completely change in terms of the rise of digital marketing and all the offline stuff is even though some of it is still valid, it's just not popular these days and most people don't do it. What are the big changes have you seen over the last 25 years?
The main thing I feel is it is so much easier to put content out. It is so much easier to put junk out that makes it harder for something like Google or any search engine try to sift through all of the stuff available to be able to come out with a proper answer. And I tell a lot of people that anything from Facebook, Instagram, paid ads, SEO, I look at it like a highway. There is a highway and there are billboards. And those billboards are your SEO strategies, your Google ads. And the truth is that we're running out of highway. There is so many people posting, doing this and that it has it requires a clever sort of like creative outside the box intent to come up with, okay, this is how I'm going to target my perfect audience, because it's not like before where you just needed to put your name in the yellow pages and make the best offer and wait for the phone to ring. Now there's a lot more territory to cover, which doesn't make it necessarily harder. Is you just have to put a little bit more of like, oh, okay, I'm going to try this with intent, and it usually works.
Yeah, I agree with you. There's a lot more junk out there. And of course, the last 2 years with the rise of AI, we've seen a lot more what people are calling AI slop, which is just nonsense that's out there. And I think, there's no long-term future in that AI slop. But where we stand today in 2025, that is surprisingly dominant on a lot of platforms. Let's talk about MSPs. So, JP, you know MSPs. I know you work with a number of MSPs. Although you're not an MSP marketing specialist, you work with lots of businesses, and MSPs are amongst your client roster. So you know that they're primarily technicians first, that they're driven by helping people, solving problems, great customer service, all of those things MSPs love, and the vast majority hate marketing. And I know that that's not just managed service providers. You see that from all sorts of business owners. So why do people who are not marketers hate marketing?
The fastest way to answer that is because they don't understand it. That is the fastest answer. Now, the next layer to that is the fact that they have been screwed over in the past by somebody. Now, granted, I believe there is people out there who are not necessarily the most honest, but really everybody's trying to do their best. And the problem is that if the business owner doesn't understand what's going to happen when they implement certain strategies or what to expect, or don't understand the foundation of it, they're going to listen to what that professional marketing agency freelancer is saying, and they might be implementing something that is not going to work for them. And it's not because the marketing agency is intentionally doing that. It's not because the business owner is intentionally doing that. They just don't understand how it works. So I give this example sometimes. I say, listen, because I know how to run ads or because I'm an expert on video production, that doesn't mean it's the right thing for you. Mm-hmm. So, and I think that's where the disconnection usually happens. Hey, I need more clients. And they say, oh, well, you need to run ads because that's what the agency knows how to do. Now, it might work, but it may not be the strategy for them. So I truly believe that the main reason people end up hating it is because they don't understand it. And they say, hey, I want to do X, Y, and Z, and I need this many leads. And the agency is like, oh, okay, well, let's do blah. Yeah. And then they don't get the result. And then the client is like, oh, no, I want to replace my agency. We've been gifted to having clients for over 15 years. And it is often we get people like, yeah, we're not happy with the agency. And believe it or not, I always, and this might sound odd, but I always vouch for the agency and not for the client, simply because I know there is something they do not understand on the process. And if they were to have that information, it will be a lot smoother.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. So you're actually trying to help educate them about the things that perhaps their previous agency didn't educate them. It's interesting what you say about the agency falling back on their own capabilities. It's like if you go to a guy who's holding a big hammer and you say to him, I've got a problem, I need a hole in a wall. He's going to say, I know how to get a hole in the wall. I'm going to hammer it. If you go up to a different guy who's got a drill, right? And you say, I need a hole in the wall, then he's going to drill it. And both of those people believe that their way is the best way. And I think that's a really good way for you of describing how marketing agencies come at it. If they're good at making outbound calls, they see that as the answer. If they're good at SEO, search engine optimization, they see that as the answer, which is really interesting. So let's bring this back to being an MSP owner. So if you are an MSP owner and you know you need to do marketing to win new clients, you know you need new clients to increase your profit, you know you need to increase your profit to have a better life, right? That's an established thing, but you're stuck right on what is the best marketing solution for me. Put yourself in that person's shoes, and what do you think are some of the right questions to ask or sort of avenues to explore before you pick? Well, I guess there's two things. There's what kind of marketing do you do? So do you go down the DIY route, the do it yourself, or do you go down the done for you, or do you find something in between? And then how do you actually pick that right person?
That's a very interesting question, and there is a few ways we can answer it, but I feel like the one thing people should keep in mind, regardless of the option, is it has to be simple. I haven't seen a marketing strategy. I've worked with some of the biggest brands and some of the smallest business, and the simpler, the better. Do not make it complicated. It is not complicated. If it has a billion steps and all this different stuff, it is probably not right. So just if we, and not to get carried away, but if any business owner were to look at how they started their business, and it was them passionate about what they were doing, giving that information to another person who was also in need of that. That's the simplicity of it. All we're trying to do is to recreate that same process, but to thousands of people. That's it. At any given time, any coffee shop, any MSP, any lawyer started by, okay, it's just me. I'm a small business. I need to start to drum up some money. How do I do this? And they were just doing that. So if a business owner is in the position of like, how do I approach this need? Number one, have a strategy. Whoever you're going to work with needs to put together a strategy, something simple that says, hey, this is your perfect audience, your perfect type of client. This is what they need. And this is what we can say to them so they understand we can offer that. Good. What is going to be the medium we're going to use to deliver that message? And they should be able to walk you through sort of like, this is what's going to happen, and it's going to lead to this, and it's going to lead to this, and this is what you're going to have at the end. So not sure if I fully answer your question, but that is what I would recommend to an MSP owner or a business owner who's like, how do I pick my next marketing agency because I'm frustrated with the current one? Well, make sure that they have a plan and that they are able to explain to you what's being done and why.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. And of course, as an MSP owner, you're dealing with very technical, very difficult, complicated things in your work. And so it's easy to assume that your marketing should also be difficult and technical and multi-step. And I completely agree. The simpler you can make it, the easier you can make it, well, the more likely it is to happen for a start. And simpler, easier marketing that happens is always better than complex, smart marketing that doesn't happen because there's just too many steps in it. So that's really good advice. Yeah. Final question for you, JP, is if you could have every MSP owner that you speak to know one thing, apart from the stuff that you just said, what would that one thing be? Or if there's no one thing, what would be the one question you would want them to ask of you?
So one is they need to track everything. They need a system or something that allows them to see the progress of what's being done, right? So if they're writing content for SEO, they need to see is the traffic increasing? If they're doing social media, do we get more exposure through social media? Are we doing email campaigns? Are people just track? Look at it just like a diet, and people track their weight and their measurements and stuff. Just measure things out to make sure that what you're doing, it is working or is not working, so you can make adjustments. Please have a strategy. The strategy is your GPS, like is going to take you from point A to point B. Can you make it without a strategy? Yes, but if you have a strategy, it is going to be the easiest way to figure out if you're doing the right thing or if it's going to work out. And it takes time and money. You know, a lot of people have the misconception that is going to be, I'm not saying it has to be expensive, but I feel people need to understand it is going to take work. It is going to cost a certain amount of money. I know people always try to get, how can I get the cheapest option or whatever, which is fine. They should. but they need to understand that they're going to get the result they're paying for to some extent. So they need to be conscious of that and think with that a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. And selling a managed services contract, perhaps one of the longest, most complex sales, B2B sales that there is, apart from the multi-million pound sales that are being made to enterprise companies and governments, those are probably longer and more complex. But, in terms of small business transactions, absolutely, it takes time. The flip side of that, of course, is you keep the client for 10 years, which is unheard of in other B2B sales. JP, thank you for your time today. Briefly tell us, what does your business do? How do you help MSPs? And how can we get in touch with you?
Sure. The name of my company is Create Want, and that's what we do. We create want for people's products and services. We believe that marketing has gotten the wrong way by pushing people into like, buy it now or you will lose an arm, or get it this, and all that. And we figure out that everything you've bought, you bought it because you want it. So I was like, well, why are we trying to push things into people? Why we don't just create want? Why we don't just make it so people want it? And there is many different ways: videos, SEO, emails, etc. So we tried to figure out, okay, what is going to work for this particular person? And a lot of our clients are actually agencies, marketing directors, business owners, and we find a lot of joy doing that, because it's not just marketing is, hey, how can we actually create want for your services?
And what's the best way for us to get in touch with you?
jp@createwant.com or createwant.com. That's the easiest way to do that. That's my direct email, and I'll be happy to. I love answering questions. I could spend my entire day just helping people answer questions. It is the thing that I'm most passionate about. I don't charge anything for it. I just want to help people, accomplish their goals.
Paul Green's MSP Marketing Edge.